All right, good evening, everyone. Tony Gonzalez calling together the planning board meeting for Tuesday, February 6th. Little statement. This meeting is being recorded and allows for real-time public participation. Comments can be addressed to the planning board utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application allows users to view the meeting and send a comment or question to the chair via the question and answer function. Submitted text comments will be read into the record. For those of you joining by phone, press *9. If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be on the city's web pages. All votes will be done via roll call to ensure account accuracy. So we will start with roll call. Larry Hassan,
Here.
Yolanda Spinola,
Here.
James Sweeney,
Here.
Marty Kroll. You're on mute. Just unmute Marty. Marty, can you unmute? You got to go over to the little red microphone on the bottom left. There you go.
All right, up here.
Present. Okay, Tony Gonzalez present. All right, a review of the agenda. We have a couple A&Rs we'll get to. We have a return to ZBA for 30 Interval Street. We have amended approval for property 142 Main Street. Preliminary subdivision for Quincy Street, Mia Meadows. We have a site plan review for 56 Cherry Street. And if anyone is here for 1315 Main Street Teen Challenge, this has been continued to next month. Again, we will not be hearing 1315 Main Street tonight. Okay, excuse me. First, can I get a motion to accept the meeting minutes for last month?
Motion to accept last month's minutes.
Second.
Second.
Thanks. Roll call. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Milando,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Marty.
Yes.
Tony, yes. Thanks. Okay. Evan? The A&Rs?
A&Rs, all right. First one we have is 2224 Emmett Street. There are two buildings on the lot that predate zoning, and they're just splitting those into two, basically. So because the buildings predate zoning, they are not, they don't have to adhere to the zoning acts, therefore it's an A&R.
All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Larry,
Yes.
Milando,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes.
All right, and second A&R is the Westgate Mall. They are just taking their big single piece of land that the mall and everything around it sits on and splitting off a bunch of the outlying buildings and different portions of it into separate parcels. I guess for financing or perhaps maybe to sell them off, but everything, it's a commercial zone. They don't have frontage requirements. Everything's fine. It's A&R, no problem.
Oh,
Motion to approve.
interesting.
Second.
All right, roll call. Larry,
Yes.
Milando,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes. So the department will let us know when we need to come in and sign board members for these A&Rs.
That's right.
All right, no lot releases, surety, extensions, okay. Getting right into it, return to ZBA 30 Interval Street, applicant Arm Construction LLC.
Oops. So anybody yes, please raise your hand if you are part of this case.
John Ed Jacobs. And Steve.
Who's representing?
Okay, there we are. Okay. I was clicking on the wrong button. This is Attorney John McCluskey representing the applicant, Rob Nakashian, who is the treasurer and CEO of Community and Housing, Inc., which is a 501c3 nonprofit educational entity in Massachusetts. They own the property at 30 Intervale Street in Brockton, and were recently before the Board of Appeals seeking relief from parking. Just by way of background, this property is a derelict property in Brockton. Used to be a bar. I can't remember the name of it, and I don't know if I was ever in it. I don't think I was. Maybe Larry. Maybe Larry might have been in. In any event, it's a derelict property, and so being a 501c3 nonprofit educational institution, we're entitled to the Dover Amendment relief for zoning. In addition to that, we've partnered with Father Bill's, which I also represent, which wants to put into this property a 28-unit permanent residential facility with educational background. Basically, what would happen would be that these would be single person studio apartments wherein the residents would be previously homeless, would be receiving educational input from Father Bills to get them back up into the community, getting jobs, getting housing, getting back acclimated with life as they should be, and integrating them into the community. This has been a very successful program, which you've probably seen over at Roadway, which is the old Carlton House hotel. If you drive by there, you'll see it's now a single unit. I don't know how many units they have over there, but that's what they do. They educate these folks. They have classes every day. They have intervention issues, with regard to helping them just acclimate into the community. So under that program, and under the so-called Dover Amendment, we're exempt from certain zoning regulations. However, we need to apply certain things such as parking, height restrictions, and things like that. So a few years ago, the owner of this property came before the Board of Appeals seeking, I think it was a 15 or 20 unit residential community, just market-based apartment building. That didn't go off the ground because apparently they realized that they needed to have more units. So I think they increased the units to more than 15 or 20 units. And we're again granted a variance because this is in a C2 zone, and residential units are not applicable in this area. So that didn't fly either. So then along comes Father Bills and Rising Community and Rob Nakashian, and they said this would be a great spot for our integrating people back into the community, and as opposed to the number of units that were allowed just before, a year before, they wanted to put 32 units and receive the zoning board approval. What they were seeking at the time was not the number of units, because that's allowed by right, under the Dover Amendment, but we're seeking a reduction in parking. And Mr. Sweeney raised the question at the zoning board level that what happens if Father Bill's doesn't come into this place? So the Board of Appeals decided, and I'm not questioning their decision. The Board of Appeals decided that because we were looking for 32 units and 28 parking spaces, that probably, possibly could not be enough to make it work if Father Bill's didn't go into this place. So as opposed to appealing the decision to the courts, Mr. Nakashian and Rising Community said, let's try to work with the city to make this work. So they reduced the number of units to 28 units, and we have 28 parking spaces on site. And now, even if perchance, and I'm honestly very confident that Father Bill's is going to go into this facility, even if perchance they did not have that Dover Amendment use, we'd still have enough parking spaces because each and every one of these units is a studio apartment, one person. So we've got one person for each parking space. And in this type of use, as you might see if you drive by the roadway property on Belmont Street, you look at that parking lot and there are no cars. There are maybe cars for 3 or 4 employees. And often you'll see the residents of Roadway walking down to the bus stop and walking over the highway to go to Cumberland Farms, but they just don't drive. 10%, typically 10% of the residents of these places drive, have cars, can afford to drive, can be allowed by law to drive. Most of them can't even be allowed by law to drive. So what we're looking to do is to go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals because we've reduced the number of units from 32 to 28. We've increased the parking under the building, and the hardship questions don't apply here because of the Dover Amendment. And I honestly think this is going to be a very good use for a derelict property that's been allowed by the Board of Appeals before to have that transition from commercial to residential. And I honestly think that this is going to be a great use for the property. So we clearly have shown a substantial change in the footprint of the property. We've shown 2 clearly different changes to the parking and to the number of units. I think this is a classic case where we should be able to go back. And I just a little bit reluctantly say that under the Dover Amendment laws and cases, the boards of appeals and the planning board has to make reasonable, by law, has to make reasonable accommodation to these type of requests.
Thank you, Attorney McCluskey. I actually might have a question. I don't know, Jim, if you can answer this, but would it not have been appropriate to make a condition that if they were using the Dover Amendment, a condition would be it would have to be Father Bill's going into this property?
I'm not sure if that was brought up, but to put a condition on that, basically the board or the chairman, I don't think he would favor something like that.
So I get the Dover Amendment, and then I also understand, what our vote here tonight is to return to ZBA, and we can only do that if the soil condition changed, the lot changed, lot shape changed, or the land topography. But I didn't hear any of that. Any questions from other board members?
Yeah, I've got a question. As far as this Dover Amendment is concerned, Why, I mean, if you're exempt from that, why are you even here? Or why would you even need permission?
Because you denied us.
But if
So-
you're, but
No, well,
certain,
So
right,
Jim,
but
Mr. Sweeney, we're looking for, when we were before the Board of Appeals, we were looking for a reduction in parking. So in that district, we would need, I don't know what the numbers, but we would need more parking. So when we were before the Board of Appeals and you raised the question, what if we don't come in? And the answer was we ended up being denied. So we have to go through the process. We have to go back to the Board of Appeals to ask for,
but didn't you just say that you're exempt from that usage and from, you did say that, correct?
yeah, we're exempt from the use,
Okay,
but we're not exempt from dimensional aspects such as
right,
parking and height and all that stuff. So that's why we're here.
gotcha.
Yeah. We good with that?
Yes, yeah, but I'm confused though.
Madam Chair, it's
Yeah,
Larry.
go ahead, Larry.
Maybe, I don't know if there's anybody else on here with Attorney McCluskey, they can explain, some of the issues with, I mean, I'm pretty sure Attorney McCluskey had mentioned that they're looking to change some of the criteria for the parking and all that. Can maybe somebody else give us a little guidance on that?
Well,
But,
maybe,
but
let me
speaking to
comment.
Or
the,
or if Attorney McCluskey wants to answer, that's fine too.
Yeah, let me comment first that in these types of units where you've got one person in each unit, you're not going to need more than one car if everybody's driving. Now, normally, I think gonna need a couple of cars per unit. So that's why we needed relief from the parking restrictions, and that's the only thing we were looking for. So really what we've got here is we've demonstrated, I think, a substantial change in the parking and in the number of residential units, so that this should, by right, allow us to go back to the Board of Appeals to address the issue that Mr. Sweeney raised at the Board of Appeals as to the number of parking units.
so did the change in parking, it would have to change the lot shape, and I don't think that parking did that either, correct? Or can someone else speak to that? We need to find one of these.
We changed the number of units from 32 to 28. That's in and of itself a substantial change.
But the criteria is soil condition, lot shape, or land topography. I keep chopping that up, but land topography. So, sorry, tongue twister. But the changing of parking spaces and changing around units is not meeting the criteria for those
Oh,
two.
yes, it is. Oh, absolutely. You just
How-
said, you
Can
just said
you have
something
plans
about-
showing the lot, that
You
the
said
lot
something
shape
about-
changed? 'Cause I'm thinking maybe lot shape, because you're not changing the
No,
soil.
hold on a second. You're not the Board of Appeals.
No,
You're the Planning Board.
correct.
Right.
We know this. Thank you. We know this, but thank you.
Yeah, you have one issue in front of you. It's not hardship, it's not topography, it's not lot shape, it's whether or not there's a substantial change. We went from 32 units to 28 units, and we increased the parking. We meet the substantial change. And under the Dover Amendment, you have the obligation to make reasonable accommodation to these types of requests for a 501(c) nonprofit educational organization. And if you don't do that, the court's going to tell you to do that.
That's potentially different.
Okay, Rob, can you please explain the criteria to return to ZBA? And tell us if changing parking units, and I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just trying to go by what the guidelines are here, Attorney McCluster. So, Rob, please, can you clarify that for the board to make sure that we are not misunderstanding anything in case this goes to court?
Okay, so there's two different things going on here, if I understand this correctly. One is that the board needs to make a finding that the applicant has made a substantive change to their application to allow or to go back to the zoning board of appeals.
Right.
And in this case, the applicant has, changed the number of units, reduced their parking requirements, and a couple of other things that Attorney McCluskey has discussed. However, and this is what's always tripped us up and has been difficult for the planning board and zoning board, is in their finding a determination to deny the application before the zoning board of appeals. The board found that there was no standing to grant a variance because there was no hardship due to the shape of the lot, the topography, or soil conditions. Now, it's easy for the planning board to say, the first half, yes, he has made a substantive change. The second half is really much more difficult because of the language that they used. Typically,
Okay.
we have argued the point, but we've never really, stood on our head about it. As to whether or not they have a substantive change for their right to apply for a variance. So what we've normally done is let the zoning board of appeals
Right.
make that decision,
Right.
but we need to continue to work with the zoning board of appeals to make sure that they don't list that as a criteria, because it screws up our process. Because if that's what's really holding this up, is that they don't have those three issues, then it's hard for us to say you've made a substantive change.
Rob, I'm not quite understanding that. I think it's pretty clear that there's a substantial change.
Oh, I agree. There is.
Yeah, and that's the criteria. It's not you can't superimpose zoning board criteria in your hearing. You can't say we need to show hardship. You can't say that we need to show unusual shape, soil. It just doesn't apply. And in the Dover Amendment case, which is even more important, the law says that you have to make reasonable accommodations so that, quite frankly, I said to my client, Rob Nikeshian, I said, we could appeal this thing, but it's going to be 2 years. And
Wasted money, wasted time.
so let's.
Marty, do you want to mute yourself? Thanks.
I'm sorry.
I was just having a board member mute there. Thank you. Go ahead.
We could have appealed it to court, but court cases take a couple of years. So we made a substantial change in the plan. We're entitled by right to go back to the Board of Appeals. And you have to make, under the Dover Amendment, you have to make reasonable accommodations. I just went through this in the town of Stoughton. And the planning board wanted to deny us on a Father Bill's case. I had to remind them that 10 years before, the planning board did the exact same thing. They wanted to deny us in Stoughton. And we went to the Superior Court, and the Superior Court says you have to make reasonable accommodations to a Dover Amendment type case. And clearly in this case, we've made substantial changes to the plan. There's undoubtedly, it just isn't, it's, you can spend your money wasting time in court, but simple thing is, let us go back to the Board of Appeals and let them take a look at it again, because it's going to answer Mr. Sweeney's question as to whether we have enough parking, which we now do, and we've reduced the size of the units. it clearly answers the Board of Appeals. You know, the Board of Appeals in their decisions often have sort of boilerplate language, didn't meet hardship and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't apply in this case. It just does not apply. And I'm telling you, I'm not trying to be confrontational here. I'm just telling you what the law is. You
Madam Chairwoman,
have to let this go back.
Yes, Marty?
Gonna say, let them figure it out. Let them go back.
I dealt with this on the city council. Attorney McCluskey is absolutely right. We have no reason to deny them to go back to the ZBA. It's up to the ZBA to decide. There's a substantial change here, and according to what I understand, that's our only purview. That's the only thing we're responsible for.
That's where I'm getting stumped because I'm informed that there's the part 2 of it where you have to meet the 3 criterias. So we got the first part of it, but we don't have the second part of it.
You don't.
So,
Yeah, we
And-
do. They do.
You're wrong.
where's the lot shape changed? Where's the soil change? The topography change? Where is it?
Are you
That's
the
the second
zoning board
part.
of appeals? You're not the zoning board of appeals.
No, I understand that, but
You have-
I've been
you have
informed
one
that when
question
it was
to answer.
returned to the ZBA.
You don't
Yeah.
have 2 questions to answer. You have 1 question to answer. Is there a substantial change? And Ms. Kroll is correct. I'm right. There is no second part of this. Is there a substantial change? And if you say that there's another piece of it,
Well,
you
it's-
have a problem.
One package, it's one package. There's pieces to a package, so it's one.
No,
package.
there's one
But-
piece to this package. Is there a substantial change? You know, you can give me that look, but I'm telling you, I'm right.
No, because we're just talking in circles. I'm not going to do that any further. Are there any other questions from the board members? Okay,
Not from me, no.
is this open to public or no?
Whoops, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Anyone who would like to address this issue at this public hearing, please use the raise your hand icon at the bottom of your screen. When we see that icon light up, we will unlock your microphone and allow you to speak. And Madam Chair, I do not have anyone indicating that they would like to speak.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve in the hopes that it fails.
That's,
I can't second that. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Is there a second?
That's the motion with the hopes that it fails? What kind of
Yes.
motion is that?
That's my motion.
Wow.
That would be a denial. Is there a second? Okay,
I make a motion, yeah, that I move forward in the hopes that it passes.
And I second that.
okay, roll call. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Yolanda Spinola,
Yes,
James Sweeney,
No,
Marty Kroll,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, no. Okay, sorry, gentlemen.
so
Next,
what do we need here? Majority, simple majority.
And you got it.
Yes.
So it passes.
You need,
Oh,
you need
excuse
four, you need four,
You need
Two
four
passes.
out of,
4 out of 5, so it failed.
That's unbelievable.
Hmm.
You really ought to be ashamed of yourselves.
excuse me, please save those comments. And just a correction, I voted against this, so it's 3 yeses and 2 nos. Just to correct the notes.
Hmm.
Okay. All right, next we have amended approval for 142 Main Street. Applicant 142 Main Street, Main Historic LLC.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to double task and I'm not doing it.
We have one coming over now. If anyone else is here for this case, feel free to raise your hand and we'll move you over.
Matt, I
Snell.
am moving Matt over.
Hi.
There he
This
is. Hi,
Dave.
Dave.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for taking the time. Am I allowed to share my screen?
Please
Summarize
do.
what we're asking for. All right. You could just let me know when you could see this. That'd be great. Can everyone? Okay, great. Thank you for the opportunity to meet. And I also have with me Matt Snell, our attorney, in case any other questions come up. My name is Dave Tregorath, and we were first in front of the planning board in 2022 for 142 Main in downtown, and wanted to come back for an amendment as we continue to make good progress on this project. I think for those of you who may remember this project and what we're up to, it's right here, right next to City Hall, at the top of the page, right, 142 Main, near the corner of School and Main Street. This is who we are, and we have a lot of multifamily experience in gateway cities, all across Chelsea, Reading, Worcester, and lots of retail experience as well. This is, as many of you probably know, the home of Elvera's Cafe, and been working with Sandra a long time as we continue to think about how to make her space even better in this building when we do the renovations. We've done a lot of historic and adaptive reuse all over the state. In Williamstown, Chelsea, as I said, we've done some ground up new construction in Hamilton, in Reading. This is a project we completed about 2 years ago. Our most recent project was completed in Chelsea, new ground up development. And our goal for 142 Main has always been and continues to be to revitalize this iconic building, which some may remember as the Kennedy Clothing Building. And much of the historic detailing is still intact inside, which is amazing, and we can't wait to bring it back to life. So the project summary as it stands today, it's going to be a $20 million investment, up from $14 million. Costs have certainly increased in the time since we were last here. We still have 39 parking spaces, of which 34 will be in a nearby Brockton Parking Authority deck, 5 in the back. We have about 2,500 square feet of residential amenity space, 30 rental apartments, 3,200 square feet of retail, and about 45,000 gross square feet across the building. So tonight we're asking for a minor modification of our prior approval from 2022. We're reducing the unit count from 32 to 30 without any changes in the building dimensions. So from 32 units to 30. We're reducing some of the affordability from 80% AMI to 60%. I'll get into some of the changes in a minute. And we're increasing the number of affordable units from 16 to 20. We're also asking for a waiver pursuant to section 27101, which says that basically a mixed-use development needs at least 70% of retail restaurant on the ground floor. We haven't made any changes to our plans on the ground floor, but we're picking up this just to make sure that we capture it. Again, no changes have been made since the 2022 plans to the ground floor, but we want to make sure this is captured in our approvals. What's happening since 2022? Mostly the timeline on these projects, as you may know, is dictated by the State Historic Tax Credit Program, which takes a very long time. We've now secured about $800,000 in state historic tax credits. We've secured about $3 million in federal historic tax credits. We've gotten $250,000 from the Brockton Redevelopment Authority, which is required for our state application. And they've been great to work with. We've been working with Alvarez to remain open and operational. Sandra's been taking care of the building and doing a great job with that. And we've been supporting local events and keeping the property safe and secure. And we're starting the corbel repairs later this week. And we also have a bunch of asbestos abatement that needs to happen. I think there was probably a renovation in the 50s or 60s where they just basically used asbestos everywhere. So we're looking forward to getting rid of that. And then we're submitting our funding application to the state next month, or actually next week, I should say. And we're continuing to work with everybody in the neighborhood on the historic district, which is a key to sort of unlocking a lot of resources. So we've brought in a lot of federal and state resources to the project, which are necessary given the construction costs that we see on these types of projects. So the size changes. The previous approval, you see one bedrooms, we had 14 one bedrooms. Now we have 16 one bedrooms. Previously, we had 18 two bedrooms. Now we have 12 two bedrooms. And previously, we had no 3 bedrooms, and now we have 2. And overall, that's a reduction in unit count from 32 to 30. On the affordability change, previously we had 14 units at 60% AMI. Now we have 20. Previously, we had 16 at 80% AMI. Now we have 0. And previously, we had 16 market rate units. Now we have 10. So that's the change there. And then on the ground floor commercial, again, we did not change this plan, except for a few tweaks that I'm happy to show you if you'd like. But overall, we want to make it clear that the retail space is going to be this shaded area, which is about 40% of the space. The rest of the space is being used for a residential lobby, mail room, internal trash, where the city really wanted us to keep it. And then we also have one unit down here in the back, exiting out into the rear of the building, which again has been there from the beginning. And so I'm going to stop there. I do have before and afters of every plan, and if you'd like to see that, but I'll only reference that if you'd like me to go there. So with that, I appreciate the time. Happy
Thank
to take
you.
it.
Thank you for the update and the details. I think it's pretty clear, reducing the units by 2. Any questions from the board members? Okay, is this open for public?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone would like to make a comment on this, please use the raise your hand icon at the bottom of your screen, and I will unlock your microphones. And Madam Chair, I do not see anyone who has used the raise your hand icon.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, before we do motion, when would this project get started if, with this approval? Do you have any idea of start date and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So we will be applying next week to the state. If they usually will get back to us, I would say towards the end of June with funding. And then normally we could close if we get all the funding that we're asking for, which we, knock on wood, would hope for. We would close within 6 months. I would hope towards the end of this year that we can get going. We are desperate to start, and that's why we were able to secure some funding to get a start on some of this early work.
Okay. Thank you. Motion to approve with standard conditions.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Larry,
Yes.
Yolanda,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes. All
All
right.
right. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have a preliminary subdivision, Quincy Street, Mia Meadows, J.K. Holmgren, Engineering. Is that Scott?
Scott is
I'm
coming
sorry.
over. And
Excuse me,
Attorney
Madam
Burke-
Chair. I don't know if Dave was still there. I was gonna ask if he could send me an email, send us a copy of that. I don't think we got those. I'll reach out to him. I
Yeah,
apologize.
he's dropped off.
Yeah. Sorry
This
about
is Attorney Matt Snell. I'm still on. What would you like a copy of?
Oh,
Of that presentation, Matt. We never got a
Uh,
copy of those slides. It would be great if we could.
Okay.
If you can
No
send to our
problem.
email. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you,
Dave took the
Isaiah.
money and ran.
All right, good evening, Scott.
Good evening, Madam Chair, planning board members. Good evening, Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering, along with Attorney James Burke, who's also up as a panelist. Attorney Burke and I are representing Charlie Macy from CLM Development, who is hoping to develop a subdivision, residential subdivision, 18 lots off of Quincy Street. We would be coming in with two separate roadways. One roadway off of Quincy between houses 96 and 106. And I'm going to share my screen if I may, Madam Chair. So the first roadway that my cursor is over between 96 and 106 Quincy Street would be called Austin Court. We have 7 residential lots off of Austin Court. Just to familiarize yourself with the location, the Baker School is almost directly across the street. The ball field is almost directly across the street from our roadway entrance. So we would have 7 lots off of Austin Court between 96 and 106 Quincy. The remaining 11 lots would be an extension of Debbie Road, which would give us 11 lots towards the back of the property. So we have a preliminary subdivision before you, which would allow us to go to the ZBA and make a filing for a request for reduction in lot size. I guess just to get a little deeper into the history of the project, Madam Chair, there was an approved subdivision way back in the 70s that created a whole bunch of lots, about 30 lots, 2 roadways that went in off of Quincy Street all the way to the back of the property. That road was obviously never built. Those lots were never sold off. And in the meantime, since that early 70s approval, the state has enacted the Wetlands Protection Act, subdivision control law, both of which make that 1970s approval null and void. We have 2 wetland systems that go right through the middle of the property, Madam Chair. One of them pretty much right in the middle and one in the back. The wetland system in the middle prevents us from having a roadway looping system off of Quincy Street, and it pretty much forces us to divide the property into essentially 2 projects, the Austin Court and the Debbie Road layout. As I said, it's a preliminary plan. We have wetlands that we have to deal with. We would certainly have a conservation filing. We're required to meet stormwater management and drainage requirements to ensure that we're not impacting any of the abutting properties. And we would have that as part of our procedure, as well as coming back before you folks with a definitive subdivision to discuss the roadway layout, any potential waivers, things like that in the future, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
All right. Madam Chairwoman, if I can, Jim Burke.
Hello, good evening.
Great. Good to see you. This is a unique piece of property. The size in this section of Brockton creates a great deal of opportunities. Charlie Macy is the developer. He does good work in everything he does, and he does his homework. And we, at the very beginning, took the Bertarelli plans from 1972. We saw that we could not function with the utilization of that. However, it is an existing plan that we're basically filing a preliminary, but clearly it's akin to seeking a modification of an existing subdivision. We sat down with the planning board at length. Rob was very great in providing, and Evan, some suggestions. And we've had numerous visits with the ward counselor. who likes the project. We've also circulated this in other parts of the city of Brockton in terms of the permitting requirements. It's important to note that we had an original plan and we've substantially reduced that plan based on the comments that we've received from members of the city. Charlie is here and he's online and he can give you the statistics, but it's an incredible, the size of these lots as compared to the entire scope of the surrounding area. These are substantially larger lots, not even close, than all of the properties around it. They give you enough area to put a good fair house without crowding. That's something that Charlie has learned how to do. And I think it's going to be an exceptional opportunity. And as Scott mentioned, it's also unique in terms of the zoning of the issue, because if you look at this specific area, there's virtually no wetlands in the entire area except for the central core of this specific property. And that over time was created by improper runoff from other areas. The net effect is now the construction is more expensive because we need two separate lots. And I think the plan that we created is, I think, attractive. And I think it's very, very appealing. And I believe the ward councilor agrees with us, but we are going to follow through and have substantial public meetings with his constituency, just so that everybody understands with great transparency what's being proposed. And, I don't know if Charlie's on board, but it might be worth hearing from him because he spent the work in terms of doing the statistical analysis of this subdivision as it relates to the surrounding area.
Sure, if he's on and wants to make it brief, because we've received a lot of information and it's a preliminary, so.
Yep. And thank you for taking the time.
There was a question if the lot 1 still exists, the public right of way.
Yeah. Actually, that's interesting. There is no public right of way. This is part of the subdivision, and no road was ever created. No abutting homeowner ever acquired any rights. And it always is part of the land that is owned by the original developer, Bertarelli, and now is being sold to us. That was raised, and we sat down with John O'Donnell in the assessor's office, and he did a review, and it's clear that there is no stub creating a right of way over the property. That just is a Scribner's error somewhere along the line. It wound up showing up, but in fact, it doesn't exist legally. There is no one with any rights to that section of the property, which is lot 1, other than the current owners and hopefully Mr. Macy.
All right, that makes sense. It says potential, so that explains that. Questions from other board members?
Yeah, I guess my question would be, usually when you have lots this size that are left in an established city, there's ledge. Is there a significant amount of ledge on this property?
I think Charlie is so weather beaten with the ledge he's had on Cypress and Amelia that he's praying there isn't. But you're right. There is a good opportunity for him to find ledge as part of the development. We haven't gone that deep in terms of the core, but we probably will prior to the zoning, Mr. Sweeney.
Yeah, just curious. So I do like the project, but it would be something that certainly the neighbors would be wanting to know about.
Yeah, there's a lot of boulder outcrops throughout the property, and especially in through the wetland area. There's a lot of rocks that might lead you to think there's something under the ground there.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
All right. Other questions from board members?
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
Attorney Burke, I'm just happy to hear that you're going to meet with the neighbors. That
Well,
always makes
no
makes
question.
life a little easier.
Yeah, no question. Yes.
All right, Larry, anything, Yolando? Okay, if not, open for public.
Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who wish to comment on this preliminary subdivision, please use the raise your hand icon at the bottom of your screen, and I will unlock your microphones. And Madam Chair, at this time, I do not see anyone using the raise your hand icon.
All right,
Nobody's
thank you,
indicating.
Rob. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve with standard conditions.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Larry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Yolando,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes. All right, thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
folks.
the board for its time.
Okay. Next up, 56 Cherry Street. And we have Scott, JK Holmgren Engineering.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Again, I'm along with Attorney Burke. I'm going to be quicker this time than I was last time, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Attorney Burke and I representing Joseph and Willie Stadelman at their property at 56 Cherry Street. I'm hoping I have good luck with this one. Give me a second, if you would, Madam Chair. I don't suppose,
You're a pro now, Scott.
there's a lot of pressure. All right, share screen. There we go. All right. All right, so we have 56 Cherry Street. It's a long owned by the Stadelmans. The project that we have before you is the building off to the right here at the corner of Cherry and Ford Street. It's primarily been used by their electric company. They are in the process of making changes to the interior of the building that were requested and required by the building department. And in doing so, they've realized that the property is probably best used as a residential use as opposed to their warehouse for their electrical company. So we've been going through tech review really for 2 or 3 years now, Madam Chair, to have this plan proposed. The existing building is going to be remodeled into 30 units. And in doing so, we wanted to divide the property into 2 lots. Currently, it consists of about, I believe it's 6 separate lots. We want to combine those 6 lots into 2. The existing office building to the left of the property will remain on Lot A, with both frontage and access from North Warren and Cherry Street. The new residential use in the existing building will be on Lot B, again with frontage and access on Cherry and North Warren. Ample parking, plenty of green space, as you can see on the plan. If you've ever been by the property, you can tell that the Stadelmans do a real nice job maintaining their property. They go above and beyond with landscaping and ornamentals, fences, everything else. So we're pretty happy that we're finally able to get this project off the ground, Madam Chair, and get it before you. But with that, I think I'll allow Attorney Burke to earn his money, if I may, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. I'm not going to take too long in this. You've got still a bunch of stuff to do, but I got the zoning in the original building for the Stadelman maybe 30 years ago. We filed and secured relief from the zoning board for the structure that's under construction now that Scott mentioned. And it truly is, I think, a best reuse as residential housing. But as part of the process, it became clear that the most effective way to deal with it, because of the 2 different structures, was to separate the lots. This is partially land court property, and I don't know to what degree the board has gotten involved in the fact that it's land court, but it's taken us almost 2 years to just get a simple removal from registered land, so that we could go ahead and do the subdivision that we had talked about and had approval with the engineering department in the city. So this is ready to go. We'd like your consideration in approving it, and it's going to be a first-class project. For informational purposes, that if you're interested, I'm in the process of closing on the Claff Box property on North Warren Avenue, which is, roughly about 1,000 feet further north. And that's where the electrical supply is going to be moving. There's roughly about 79,000 square feet, believe it or not, in that building. And they're in the process of making substantial changes and renovations, and hopefully we're going to close on that at the end of this month. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just had a question for Rob, I guess the department. Has the city engineer still not reviewed this?
I would defer to Evan on that.
Yeah, I haven't received any update review from the city engineer yet at this point. So he still will have to. I know we spoke about this in tech review, Scott, that you'll still need him to review this, and depending on what happens there, you may have to return for an amendment approval.
As part of the new stormwater bylaws in the city, Madam Chair and board members, even once we get planning board approval as part of the building permit process, we still have to get stormwater approval, which is granted by a committee, but it's headed by the city engineer. So we have to go through and at that point make sure that we satisfied him as well. So he'll certainly have another chance at approving it, Madam Chair. But we don't foresee any issues at all. The one issue he had was that there was perhaps a catch basin that was missing, but we've walked the site with the Stadelmans who have installed everything out there. We don't see that we've missed anything. We're pretty confident in what we have on the plans and the design we have before you, Madam Chair.
All right, that's good. I was just also concerned that it's an extra step, but I guess more opportunity for you and Attorney Burke to make more money.
Thank you.
Questions from board members?
Yeah, I've got one question. On the building sides, what's the setback from the sidewalk?
I'm going to get that answer without changing the plans, Mr. Sweeney. Let me see. It's existing about 6 feet along Ford Street and a little bit more, about 8 feet on Cherry Street.
So 6 feet and 8 feet off of where the city owns?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. And sidewalks basically all around the property, but sidewalks on those two streets as well.
All right. So that green you have is could be a true line of green.
In fact, it is currently a green space with a whole lot of shrubs out there.
Okay. Thank you.
Except for the FDC connection that has a nice concrete walk as required.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Excuse me.
This is Deputy Williams. I actually think it's a lot less than 6 feet. It's probably like 3 feet or 4 feet, but definitely not 6 feet. But it's the building. It's already there.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Just curious about that. Thank you.
Okay, questions from the board members? If not, we'll open to public.
Anyone wishing to address this project, please use the raise your hand icon at the bottom of your screen. And Madam Chair, I have no one indicating that they would wish to speak. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve with standard conditions and with the exception of the city engineer for a final review.
Second.
All right, roll call. Excuse me. Larry?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Yolando?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
And Tony, yes. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Once again, we thank the board for its time.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you feel better, Madam Chair.
Thanks, it's just this lingering cough that will hang around for a little while longer, I'm told. Thank you, though.
6 weeks here.
Before we close, I just wanted to make a comment. I'm always going to dismiss inappropriate comments made to the board, and I will always remain respectful and courteous to applicants, presenters, and other board members, and I hope that we all do the same. We need to respect one each other's decisions. We may agree to disagree, but we should refrain from making inappropriate comments to one another or to anyone that's presenting to us. I also want to say that I have confidence in the department and the information presented to us. So if there's any issues with this soil condition, lot shape, or land topography, if that's what's been presented to us and we needed to make a decision off of this, if that's not accurate, then this needs to be changed. But I have faith in the department, and so this is how I base my decisions, and I hope that the rest of the board respects the department as well and has confidence in the information provided to us. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Madam Chair, before we adjourn, do we have to come in to sign anything, or they'll let us know?
Yeah, they'll let us know in the paperwork committee.
All right.
Hey, yeah, Larry,
Y'all-
I'll let you guys know. We have one A&R, but we're still waiting for one more. So I'd rather just wait till they come in so we can get you guys all in. Also, do you guys want to sign? I'll let you guys close the hearing, but do you guys want to sign those?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Not that, thank you for the reminder.
Thank
We
you.
have it on our email, so if you could sign the attendance for this evening, that would be great. So now we can sign it, but
Isaiah, was that your email?
It should
Yes.
either came from
Yes.
me, Jim, or Adobe.
Okay,
Adobe sign at 411.
thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Okay. Roll call. Larry,
yes.
Rolando,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes. Good evening. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Not
Thank
everyone.
you.